The reality is I would choose the bear, you would choose the bear, we would all choose the bear. Collectively, as the internet is female presenting people, we all would choose the bear. And I can't speak for everyone's reasons why they would choose the bear, but the reason I told my husband is this: because a bear doesn't hate people the same way men hate women. And if I'm gonna die anyway, I would choose the dignity and death of being mauled by a bear than a scary, scary man who wants to take his time. Because the scariest of bears will never be scarier than the scariest of men. And if I'm gonna die anyway, I will take the dignity and death of a natural death from a wild animal than I would take the creative torture that a man can provide.
Aren't you lying? No. In fact, aren't you a liar? No more questions, Your Honor.
I don't know you, woman, but I'm confident in saying that the closest you've ever come to being in the wilderness is that one time you got lost on a concrete path through a public park in the suburbs. Because if you truly understood the horrific nature of a bear attack, you would be most certainly whistling a different tune. Now, deep down, you know that death by bear is a horrific way to go. It's not dignified, nor is it quick or painless. The only reason you choose the bear is because of your selfish desire to be an empowered victim that's only overshadowed by your unquenchable thirst to always be right no matter the cost. And by choosing the bear, you get both. And add in a dash of an undeserving sense of moral superiority, and what you got is an insufferable broad who'd rather insult men than just admit that most men aren't all that evil. But whatever, keep telling yourself that the bear is more dignified, because as we all know, there isn't any form of dignity quite like the dignity of having your hair and teeth found in a massive pile of bear turds.
Ew. What a mess. Ew. Ew. Ew.
Women don't owe you pretty and they don't owe you nice. And I think that that's why men get so confused when we say all men, because we live under a system that perpetuates these same harmful ideas, and men who do not stand up against that, do not deconstruct it, and do not actively fight against it are continuing to perpetuate the problem. That is why you have to be anti-racist in order to not be racist, in the same way men need to be like anti-patriarchy to be on the side and allied with women.
No offense, but it sounds like some fucking commie gobbledygook.
Okay, but we don't want you as an ally, and we couldn't care less about what you think about us. We don't want anything to do with you. We have done nothing to warrant being your enemy. You're the ones who are calling us racist, misogynist, and violence for pleasure-seeking psychopathic cavemen. You're the ones blaming us for the fact that you can't hold down a job to afford your rent. And you're blaming men who exist today for stuff that happened over 200 years ago. And you expect us to apologize for that. Well, I hate to break it to you, sister. You may not owe us pretty and you don't owe us nice, but we don't owe you an apology. And you're not getting one because we didn't do anything wrong. We're not apologizing for the sins of the father, and we're certainly not apologizing for being born. We owe you nothing, just as much as you owe us nothing. And that's the nature of equality, sweetheart. Get used to it.
I do hate men. There, I said it. You can call me a misandrist. That doesn't hurt my feelings. That doesn't make me feel inferior. I simply do not believe that we can inherently inflict more violence on men than they already are through patriarchy. And even through these subtle nuances of patriarchy, men might think, I'm a good guy, I don't participate, I don't hit women, I don't grape women. Buddy, if you're not calling out the people around you, then you're just as complicit. When men continue to stay friends with men who cheat on their partners, with men who abandon their families, they are just as bad. You are who you surround yourself with. Billie Eilish just made a song, Birds of a Feather Flock Together, or what have you. If you are around those types of people and you're not actively being like, bro, that's not chill, we don't treat people like that, then you're just as bad as your bro.
Emotional damage.
So men are the violent, hateful ones, yet you're the one who's proudly proclaiming that you hate all men. Okay, sure, that makes sense. So let me ask you this, woman. What'll it take to shut you up? What is it going to take for you to be satisfied with this whole thing? Because from the sounds of it, all you want are excuses to hate men. So let's be real here. There is nothing men can do to make you feel safe. You expect us to not only act in accordance of living in a civilized society, which most of us do, but you also want us to engage in vigilante justice and risk our lives, all because you're bitter that some guy you were boning boned someone else. Sorry, sister, that dog just is not going to hunt here. Why in the hell should we help you? No matter what a man does to try to be anti-patriarchy and to prove that he's your ally or whatever garbage you're spewing, it will never be enough. There will always be something else. There will always be something more. You are incapable of being satisfied. So there's no point. Why should we even bother helping a woman who credits Billie Eilish for a phrase that was written by ancient Greek males?
Checkmate.
Dang.
What is the mental load and how does it take a toll on emotional and physical intimacy? The mental load is a term for the invisible labor involved in managing a household and family, which typically falls on the woman's shoulders. It can be even more burdensome if you both work outside the home. You're not just picking up party decor, you're planning the theme. You're the one remembering to send a gift to the out-of-state cousin who just had a baby. You're the one realizing it's been a while since you volunteered to bring treats to the kids' school. You're not just picking up your mother-in-law's birthday gift, you remember what her favorite scent is.
That is without a doubt the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
If you ever need proof that modern marriages are nothing short of a psychological sham combined with a judicial Ponzi scheme and wrapped up in a bow of unrealistic expectations, the mental load is definitely what you're looking for. The mental load can be easily translated as such. The wife thinks, therefore she isn't happy. The mental load argument is a massive pile of hypocritical bull hockey, and here's why. It is only something that women are allowed to complain about, and that's because modern housewives just assume that men don't think, either because they're incapable, lazy, or they're malicious. So under that rationale, you'd think that if a man has zero experience loading his mental, then the basic mental loading would be extremely exhausting for the man, but no. That's not how it works. Let's say a man does complain about the mental load, he gets tired from thinking and planning everything, and his wife will think that's absolutely absurd. And her having to think that her husband thinking that thinking is exhausting will add on to her mental load, which proves that the mental load is just an excuse for modern wives to have something to bitch about.
You're not just grocery shopping, you're meal planning. You're not just putting the toys away, you're keeping everything organized. You're tending to your relationship by scheduling a date night. You're not just running the kids to a pediatrician appointment, you're spending time finding the right specialist for them. The mental load takes a toll in two ways. One, it can create relationship resentment, and two, you may find that all you want to do is hang a do not disturb sign on yourself at the end of the day, which means physical intimacy gets placed on the back burner. It doesn't have to stay this way. Watch part 2 to find out what to do about this.
Man, that's just mean. That's mean, man.
Sister, what you said was just incredibly insulting. The mental load argument you used makes you the perpetual victim no matter the circumstances. Whatever that man does for the house is completely disregarded because the wife had to go buy ingredients for a tuna helper casserole. This argument is based on the assumption that the man is doing nothing, which is unfair at best and a massive lie at worst. Either way, you're negating everything the man does for his family because apparently putting the kids' toys away is so exhausting that it would be physically easier for that woman to calculate the square root of infinity. So this leads to her resenting her husband for virtually no reason and weaponizing bedroom intimacy against him, so he has to do more work in order to earn your sworn commitment to your wifely duties of tending to your husband's needs. And that man is already working hard enough, but instead of recognizing what he does and showing a little bit of appreciation, you're just going to kill the bedroom to spite him. And here's an idea for you. Maybe instead of wasting all of that mental energy coming up with those stupid alternate phrases for everyday household tasks, you just do your share of the work and shut up. That way you don't have to waste all of that mental load coming up with new words to hate your life and husband.
You know you're really just full of shit. There's the John. Okay?
So I have been in a 16-year or longer relationship. Because I've been in such a long-term relationship, I've never been put under the woo from a man. What I mean by the woo is, you know, whenever you have a friend, or maybe it's you, and you get a new boyfriend, and you're just like so obsessed and so in love with like every single thing about them. And you kind of just start making up like a story of how you want them to be in your head, and you kind of assume that that's how they are. Basically, since I've been in such a long-term relationship, I kind of watch my friends go in and out of relationships as an outsider. As someone who observes all of my friends go in and out of relationships, I have developed a superpower. You can ask any of my friends. I can read men and I can read relationships in like 1 second. Here's the first thing that you need to know about relationships, and especially about men. Eyes will pretty much tell you exactly who they are right away. You've heard the saying, if a duck quacks, it's a duck. A lot of guys are quacking because they're freaking ducks. But what girls do is they want to make up stories about them and they don't want to believe the duck that's quacking. Does that make sense?
What?
It's a known fact. A modern woman's diet consists of boxed wine, reality television, and copious amounts of denial. She would rather make up her own truth instead of facing the reality that's staring right in front of her. Now, if she's seeing someone and has to lie to her friends about what kind of man he is, then that sounds like the woman is insecure about the man she's seeing. She needs to fool herself and everyone around her to think that she's living a romance novel story. But to the modern woman, living a life that resembles the media she regularly consumes is one of her driving goals, alongside seeing if she can cake on more industrial grade makeup than the next chick, but that's just common sense right there. And even if her friends try to point out her delusions or call her out on lying, all they're doing is lighting the quick burning fuse on a neutron bomb that's next to a dynamite factory that's run by a cartoon coyote. It's going to end just as well as you think, but it's still going to be a zany laugh riot for all of the bystanders who are watching.
So for instance, a lot of girls don't want to admit this, but you need to go on his Instagram the minute you start talking to him, and you need to look at who he's following. Like, maybe you're a chill girl. Maybe you're like, I don't care who he follows. I don't care what he posted 7 years ago, but you need to, because he's telling you who he is by who he's following and what he's posting, and you're probably making up excuses about it. I've seen it happen 1,000 times. I know you've heard this, and this isn't new information, but like, for instance, why isn't he calling me? Why isn't he texting me, making up all these stories about how he's playing hard to get da-da-da? No. If he wanted to call you or text you, he would call you or text you. He'll tell you who he is in the first week, in the first second, in the first moment. Just check his social media, check who he's following, check what he's posting, and believe it, take it at face value. Guys are super simple creatures.
Really?
And remember, her doing a deep dive into your social media history is perfectly acceptable behavior. But if you try to look into hers, that's totally different. Modern women want the freedom to be able to live their lives as irresponsibly as they please while keeping their man on a short leash. That's the standard they set a long time ago, because if a man is following a whole bunch of bikini chicks on Instagram, that is tantamount to cheating. But if a woman is following a bunch of well-built chads while posting thirst trap bikini pics, then that's totally acceptable because she's doing it to feel good about herself. And if you ask her to delete the photos, she will retort by accusing you of not loving her, because if you actually loved her, you wouldn't care if she posted half-naked pics on social media. It's an incredibly frustrating double standard that modern women refuse to recognize because they want their cake and they want Chad to feed it to them.
Another thing I see girls do, they'll be really easily impressed at the beginning of a relationship. So for instance, if the guy texts you and says, "Good morning, beautiful," and that just like makes you feel amazing, that's great. It should make you feel amazing. But it's really not that big of a deal. It's kind of the bare minimum. Or he takes you out to dinner and he pays for your dinner. And you're like, oh my God, he called me beautiful and he bought dinner. Like, what else should, if he wasn't doing that, he'd just be a roommate or a brother or a friend. Like, in order to be a boyfriend, those are kind of the bare minimum. So to rehash the life rules in lesson 1, if his Instagram has pictures of him partying in Mykonos, he's a party boy. If he follows a bunch of like super hot chicks on Instagram, but it has nothing to do with his job, maybe he's a player. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with like following hot chicks on Instagram or partying in Mykonos, but you just have to ask yourself if that's the kind of relationship that you're looking for and if that's something you're comfortable with, because guys are transparent and you'll know and you'll see who they are right away. So stop making excuses. Just remember, if the duck quacks, it's because it's a duck.
Women should stay home and make babies.
Well, that's simply not true, woman. A woman can be a duck, and if she's a duck, that makes her a witch. And that makes about as much sense as what you're saying. I guess I don't see why you're so emotionally invested in all of this. If a man is texting good morning to a girl that he likes and she likes it, then so what? Why do you care so much about what he's doing? You're in no position to be judging the actions of men you've never met before, and it's not like you're the end-all be-all of bare minimums, because if you were, the world would be descending into hell a hell of a lot faster than it currently is, and that's saying something. You're acting like you're the expert of all relationships because you've claimed to be in one relationship for, and I'm quoting you here, 16 years or longer, and that is a very weird thing to say. Considering that modern women hold dates as sacred as they do the unhealthy amount of chemicals they rub into their skin, you'd think that she'd know how long she's actually been in a relationship with a man. So I really don't think it's safe to take advice from a modern broad who's either clearly lying about her man or can't even understand the concept of time. And that's gonna do it for today's video, gentlemen and gents. And as always, if you find that my particular brand of comedy is bringing you to the brink of laughter, then why don't you scroll on down and click that like and subscribe button. Ring the notification bell and leave a couple of comments, and make sure to share this video so we can get the word out and give the good old-fashioned middle finger to the YouTube algorithm. Thank you so much for checking out the new video, gentlemen and gents, and until next time, peace out, homies.